Speaker. Earlier today, the Prime Minister said that he had acted decisively on RAAC. Earlier this week, the Secretary of State said that schools where critical RAAC was identified had been fixed immediately. As we've come to expect from this government, neither of those statements are true. St James's RC Primary School in my constituency had critical RAAC identified in June, and action wasn't taken immediately, or indeed at all. They were told they could open in part, and then, as many others, received just 24 hours' notice that the school had to close in full. Schools would not be in this position had this government acted decisively. They have known RAAC was unsafe since 2018, and they could and should have taken action much earlier. Decades of cutting money from vital public services has literally left buildings crumbling and left our kids at risk sitting in unsafe buildings. This government's decisions have left all of our public services on their knees, not just our schools, but crumbling hospitals, courts, and not just the buildings, but whole services have collapsed. Staff too are being failed. Workers in schools, the NHS, local government, have all been left propping up services. Huge increases in workload, coupled with real terms pay cuts, has also left public sector workers at the point of collapse. And we know that this government's rhetoric on levelling up is yet more untruths, and we know why. The Prime Minister boasting about moving money from poorer areas to richer areas, cutting tax on champagne, spending millions on new offices, whilst our northern communities like Hebburn, Bolden, Jarrow and Gateshead in my constituency are left behind. And it doesn't surprise me to see so many of my North East colleagues on the benches here today. Communities neglected and left paying the price of Tory chaos, whilst ministers, their spouses and their cronies get richer. The benches opposite attempt to gaslight the country into believing everything is okay. And despite their panto screaming during PMQs, they know the reality is 13 years of Tory governments has ruined our country. From the cost of living crisis, food and energy bills, to our waters, schools, our NHS, every part of our country is falling down. The Secretary of State likes to keep saying that decisions were nothing to do with me. But the fact our schools and this country are falling apart is absolutely on them. Right now we have thousands of parents petrified because of this concrete crisis, whilst at the same time we have a Prime Minister and Secretary of State with feet made of clay. They need to accept that their time is up and move aside so that the Labour Party can start clearing up the mess that they have caused.